It was supposed to be an ordinary morning flight from London to Dubai, carrying 186 passengers, including families, businessmen, and tourists. The air inside Flight 472 buzzed with sleepy chatter, coffee aroma, and the soft hum of the engines. Among them sat Dr. Aisha Malik, a 35-year-old trauma psychologist returning home after a medical conference. She preferred the window seat, sipping green tea and reading a book titled The Art of Staying Calm. At 9:40 a.m., the aircraft leveled off above the clouds. Everything was normal until three men from the back suddenly stood up, their faces covered, voices raised. "Nobody move," one of them shouted, brandishing a small pistol. A ripple of panic spread like wildfire. Screams filled the cabin. A child began to cry. The lead hijacker ordered the flight attendants to seal the cockpit door and forced the pilot to divert the plane. Aisha froze for a moment, her heartbeat loud in her ears. She'd been trained to handle trauma victims, not to face terrorists, but her instincts kicked in. While passengers trembled, she focused on observing their body language, tone, and the way the leader spoke. He wasn't purely angry. He was afraid. His hands shook when he yelled. She took a deep breath. Fear is contagious, she thought, but so is calm. A few rows away, an elderly man clutched his chest. Aisha whispered to the nearest flight attendant. He might be having a heart attack. "Please let me help him," the hijacker's second-in-command barked. "Sit down!" But the leader hesitated. Aisha looked at him, not with fear, but empathy. "If he dies, it'll be chaos in here. Let me help him." "You don't want more trouble." After a tense pause, the leader nodded slightly. As Aisha knelt beside the old man, she realized something. The hijackers weren't professionals. Their nerves betrayed them. This wasn't a cold-blooded mission, it was a desperate act. And if she played it right, her calm could control the chaos. Outside, the aircraft changed direction toward unknown airspace. Inside, 186 souls waited, terrified. But one woman's steady voice whispered comfort to those near her. "We'll get through this. Just breathe." And slowly, a small circle of calm began to spread in a sea of fear. The next hour was tense. The hijackers barked orders and demanded the pilot contact air traffic control. They wanted the release of prisoners in exchange for the lives on board. The pilot complied, trying to keep communication open, but the signal was weak. The passengers sat frozen, whispering prayers. Aisha quietly observed everything. The leader called himself Rafiq, barely 30, with eyes that betrayed confusion more than cruelty. His younger brother Omar was jittery, his hands trembling with each shout. The third man seemed uncertain, glancing at Aisha often, as if seeking reassurance that he wasn't doing the wrong thing. When a baby started crying uncontrollably, Rafiq shouted, "Make her stop!" But the young mother was too terrified. Aisha stood slow and calm. "Let me help," she said softly. Rafiq hesitated. "Sit down." "Please," she said. "If she keeps crying, people will panic." Rafiq lowered his weapon slightly. "Fine, but don't try anything." Aisha knelt beside the mother, gently rocking the baby, whispering lullabies. The sound calmed not only the child, but also the entire cabin. Rafiq watched her. His breathing slowed. She noticed that too. "You're afraid things will go wrong, aren't you?" she asked quietly. His eyes flashed. "You don't know anything about me." "I know fear when I see it," she replied. "And I know you didn't want this to happen like this." Her voice wasn't challenging. It was understanding. It made him pause. At the same time, she noticed the youngest hijacker secretly wiping tears. She whispered to the flight attendant, "He's scared. If we can reach him, we can stop this." The attendant nodded subtly. Hours passed. The media outside the world was now buzzing. Flight 472 hijacked mid-air. Fighter jets followed from a distance. Inside, tension hung heavy, but Aisha's calm demeanor had changed something. Passengers trusted her. The hijackers didn't see her as a threat anymore. She was the only one they listened to. As dusk settled beyond the windows, Aisha realized the truth. This was no terrorist cell. It was a broken family pushed into extremism. She had one mission now: break their fear before they broke 186 lives. The plane circled over the sea as negotiations stalled. Fuel was running low. The hijackers argued among themselves. Rafik shouted. "They're lying! They won't release anyone!" Omar replied. "We'll die before surrendering." The third man whispered, "We didn't sign up for this." Aisha saw her moment. She stood again, slow and steady, facing Rafik. "You said you wanted justice," she began, voice calm. "But this won't bring it. You'll only be remembered as killers, not brothers." Rafik aimed the gun at her. "Sit down." "You think you can lecture me?" She didn't flinch. "I think you don't want to hurt anyone. I think you're just tired." Silence. Even the engines seemed to quiet. Rafik's grip trembled. "You don't know what they did to us," he muttered. "Maybe not," she said, "but I know what you're doing to yourself now." Her tone was soft, maternal. "You can still stop this. You can walk out alive, not as a monster, but as a man who changed his mind." Omar shouted, "She's lying." But Aisha looked at him too. "You're shaking, Omar. You don't want this either. Look around. These people are scared, but they're human, just like you. You can choose mercy." The tension broke. Omar's weapon lowered. His brother cursed at him, but his own voice cracked. Tears welled in his eyes. The third man finally dropped his gun completely and sat down, sobbing. The passengers began to whisper. Hope flickered. Aisha turned to Rafik again. "You wanted your voice heard. This is your moment. End it your way." Outside, the world waited for an explosion. Inside, silence reigned. Then, after what felt like eternity, Rafik slowly placed his gun on the floor. A collective gasp filled the cabin. Aisha exhaled the breath she'd been holding for hours. Her calm had disarmed not just weapons, but hatred itself. The captain regained control of the aircraft and contacted the nearest airbase. Fighter jets escorted them to an emergency landing in Istanbul. As the plane touched down, applause and sobs filled the cabin. Aisha sat quietly, holding the baby she'd calmed hours before. When security stormed the plane, they found the hijackers sitting with hands raised, heads bowed. Not a single shot fired. No one killed. The commander asked, "Who convinced them to surrender?" All eyes turned to Aisha. She shook her head humbly. They just needed someone to listen. The news broke worldwide within minutes. Psychologist diffuses hijacking without violence. Interviews, awards, and recognition followed, but Aisha stayed private. She always said it wasn't courage. It was empathy. Later, during an inquiry, Rafik admitted, "She saw something in us no one else did." For the first time, someone didn't call us monsters. He was sentenced, but he thanked Aisha before being taken away. Weeks later, Aisha returned home. On her desk lay a letter from one of the passengers. "Your calm didn't just save our lives. It taught us what humanity really means." She smiled softly, sipping her tea by the window. The world outside seemed quieter now, and somewhere, in a sky that had once been filled with fear, peace had learned to fly again.